President Jacob Zuma and his co-accused arms manufacturer Thales are expected to appear at the Pietermaritzburg High Court this morning in relation to corruption charges against the former president linked to the arms deal. Of course, he's facing 16 charges relating to 783 payments he allegedly received. Zuma is accused of corruption, racketeering, fraud and money laundering, while Thales is accused of agreeing to pay Zuma 500,000 rand in bribes. Now, every day this week on the AM report, we'll be profiling corporations and individuals implicated in the 1999 arms deal with Open Secrets. And today, we profiled Thales with Director of Open Secrets, Hennie van Vuuren. He joins me now via Skype. Henry, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. Zuma's lawyers want the trial to start in October. And on the other end, we have the NPA speaking about wanting this matter to be brought to the courts in 2021. As we look at what's at stake here, are there any more significant reasons for the trial to be postponed?
Yes, good morning, Paul. I think that this is a trial that Jacob Zuma has long wished for, but it has done everything over the last 15 years to try and delay. Rather, he and his defense teams, and of course, it's been in the interest of Thales to do that as well. I think, it feels surprising that it's the state now's turn to say, hang on, we need an extra couple of months to prepare. Clearly, there are a couple of things at stake. I think the one is there is the impact of COVID-19, the ability to be able to get the right witnesses into the dock. There's the realization as well that while the case, from my understanding, was ready, as Jacob Zuma's team have argued for many years to be put to trial, there's been renewed energy, obviously, within the NPA only over the last year or two. Don't forget that the institution has been fundamentally undermined, and this was one of those cases that was put on ice and we thought would never see the light of day. So there's no doubt that at last some of the old containers filled with millions of pages of documents were revisited. I think there was new evidence that was being considered. We've had an indication of who those over 100 witnesses are that are going to be called. So I'm not necessarily thinking there's a new smoking gun in terms of a witness. There's no indication of that from the state. But clearly, it's a massive case to be able to prepare for. And those are no doubt all factors weighing down on the state. But importantly, they have a legal team that's leading this from the side of the prosecution, led by Advocate Billy Downer, who had prosecuted Jacob Zuma's financial advisor, Shabir Sheikh, and of course was the middleman in that relationship allegedly between Thales and Zuma in the mid-2000s. So they have their handle on the matters. I would imagine it is about ensuring that that all the last bits and pieces of it are tightened up in preparation of the case.
Now, Thales is accused of agreeing to pay Zuma 500,000 rand in bribes. When we zoom into the arms manufacturer and just try explore its significance in this role, where does Thales fit in when it comes to this matter?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I think it's crucial, as you say, for us to recognize the role of the arms manufacturer. This case is so often, and I would argue incorrectly, reduced to the Jacob Zuma trial. I think we'll see that all over social media today. In fact, it is the Thales Zuma trial, a hugely influential European arms manufacturer, today part owned by the French state, one of the biggest arms manufacturers in the world. And Thales has been in operation for many decades and has a long history with South Africa. If we deep down back into our own history, this was a corporation operating as what was called Thomson CSF until the late 90s, early 2000s, which was very happy to do business with the apartheid regime, as the French government generally condoned the sale of weapons to the apartheid regime clandestinely and always criminally in contravention of UN sanctions. And we saw that relationship really carry through into the 1990s. And at the dawn of democracy, Thales, or then Thomson CSF, was one of the companies lobbying hard, together with British Aerospace and others, to get a piece of the action of the big arms deal, the arms procurement package. And obviously they were successful. A relatively minor player in the entire arms deal, their slice of the pie was about 2.5 billion rand of a deal that today is probably worth about 100 billion rand, but hugely important in terms of the people they're alleged to have bribed, obviously including Jacob Zuma.
And And as we assess perhaps some of the challenges that come with a postponement, what are some of the significant factors that may come out of a postponement and even further postponement? What is it that we really need to be cautious of as the state asks for another postponement?
Yeah, well, look, I think that the today obviously is the pre-trial process. So it's primarily dealing with President Zuma's no-show earlier in February, and for him, he's really on the back foot there. So he needs to provide reasons as to why he didn't appear in court in February. But when it comes to the issue, the question I don't think is necessarily one of postponement, but of when the trial actually begins. The state is proposing, that it's delayed by a couple of months. But very crucially, I think that we cannot see the trial start beyond the beginning of 2021. At some point, we'll see even the prosecutors start peeling off, never mind the potential loss of witnesses over time. And I think that Jacob Zuma is, of course, also right, is that the matter must proceed also in the interest of justice and for South Africans to finally get some closure on the matter. It's important for us not only to understand who profited from this arms deal, but for us to see substantive justice. Dealing with corruption in the arms deal, this is probably the biggest corruption and definitely the biggest political trial over the last 10 years that we've seen in this country, is going to be crucial to send a signal to others who are involved in similar types of state capture and corruption that this type of impunity simply isn't tolerated.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to have to leave it there. Hennie van Vuuren, Director of Open Secrets and Anti-Arms Deal Activist, speaking about Thales' role, of course, the co-accused in the arms deal matter.